consider it's my way of showing people that even with a learning disability, I can overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, turning myself into a perfect example for people out there deaf, blind, or in a wheelchair. You should never label yourself or have people label you. You should prove to them you can still amount to something no matter what, and that's the whole point of life. Proving people wrong. Proving people wrong, yeah. Excuse me. It's been a long day. Usually when I talk, I hide it pretty well, but sometimes it's like it shows. But hey, I'm not perfect, but now with that being said, half-hour conversation. You can say anything you want, curse if you want to, completely whatever you want to do.
Okay, thank you.
So starting off, what can you tell me about yourself?
I am a Japanese-American actress. I live in Northern California. I do a lot of stage performances, but I also do some on camera, sometimes film. And I also do a lot of voiceover. And my voiceover work tends to be bilingual, so I do a lot of English and Japanese voiceover work.
Oh, but after the show, I do have an idea for you if you're interested.
Sure.
Now, the other question I was going to ask you is, you said you're Japanese American, right?
Yes.
That sounds very interesting. My niece is actually Chinese American.
Oh, really? Okay.
Can you tell us what I don't mean to sound like an asshole if that's coming off like that. I apologize.
Not at all.
Could you tell us what the difference is, the culture difference, and...
Well, let's see. My mother is Japanese, and she is from Kobe, Japan, and my dad is American. He grew up on the East Coast, actually. There are quite a few differences, such as in Japan, there's not a lot of physical contact. We don't shake hands with people. We kind of, we have a very large personal space. And so you tend to, so you will bow instead. I have also heard acting styles are also different. There's an American actress that went over to do, I guess, a TV show in Japan, and she talked about how the styles were very different because in American theater we're told to always look at the other person in the eye when we act with them. But in Japan, a lot of the acting doesn't have eye contact. Instead, it has a lot more to do with listening to the other person. So even though they may avoid eye contact, they will still act just as well, just in a different way. And I think that's just a cultural thing that we have a larger idea of personal space.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. And I'm not Chinese or Japanese, but occasionally when I see a customer, when I used to work in retail, I sometimes say, "Hey, how's it going?" Mm-hmm. But usually I just nod my head when I see it, and that's. So what you're saying, you usually just nod your head in acknowledging someone. So it's kind of funny that that's where I got it from.
It's a quiet culture, I think, Japan. It's a lot of aesthetic-wise, they tend towards more subtle art, I think, instead of bold art. I don't know if that really makes sense or not.
But it's funny you should say personal space. But what's your opinion on the whole I don't know if it's just a YouTube video of people making fun of Japan or Asians in that general. I don't know. I don't know if it's real or fake. In Japan, do they really cram on the subway like that? Or is it more normal like in America?
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. That's sort of that no one really wants to do that, but we have to. So then it becomes this uncomfortable thing. But even within that, we do have to. That's only during rush hour, like when, just as everyone is getting off of work and trying to get home, you do have to kind of cram in to try and get onto the trains. But it's still interesting though. Like, I think in America, if that happened, we would kind of try and acknowledge sort of each other's presence. But in Japan, it's kind of like, I'm just going to keep to myself. Like, this is really, really awkward and uncomfortable. So if I just keep to myself for the next, however long the train trip is, I don't know. But they are kind of, it's nice in Japan, they also have, with the trains, they now have sections for women that's just only for women during those traffic hours. So at least women get a little bit more room. Yeah.
No, I would love to see that, Yeah. But, it's a guy thing. I apologize. But you would never see that in the States. First off, that would be considered rape, number one. Like, why would you be standing here and the guy would be pressed up against you? It's like, yeah, that won't go over well. Or you have some pervert say, I would like to be on that train. But the other important question I was going to ask you was, how is it on safety? Because you have all that people and all that weight, and the train goes 200 miles per hour, so you have to calculate that weight too being pushed to one side. How does that pass safety regulations?
Well, it's pretty safe. I've never had any problems when I've been on the train, and I think there's only one, it was on the news, there was a terrible train accident that killed many, many, many people because I guess the driver was actually going faster than it was regulated because he was running a little late. And that's another thing with Japan. Everything runs on time, so the train is never a minute late or a minute, early. It's just on time. And I guess, so that driver was running a little late for whatever reason, and he tried to get on time, and it was just against regulations that he went at a faster speed, and that's how he got derailed, I guess, because of the weight. But other than that, I've never heard of any safety issues, and in Japan, they're really good about safety, I think, in a lot of ways. Even if, for instance, in Japan, if during happy hour at bars and stuff, they always have taxis waiting outside. Taxis just constantly are circling around all the bars when it becomes, in the evenings. So you always can find a taxi right outside. You don't have to wait. You don't have to call. They're just there.
No, that's a smart thing to do.
So it's, there's no, and if you did drive, they always have, or if you took a bike, they have special taxis that you can, put your bike on the rack, or, there's a taxi where there's a second driver who will drive your car home for you. So it's kind of, so they're starting to have more I don't know, precautions, I guess, and all forms of safety. Even with the trains, they have all kinds, and regulations and everything is very good, and the trains are always clean, like very clean. So yeah, it's just.
No, I appreciate it. Hey, if I ever go to Japan, I would love to hire you to be my translator.
Oh yes, of course.
And now on the other question is, well, two questions. You don't mind talking about the culture difference, or?
Oh no.
No, because the reason I bring it up is I've been working on my demographics, and I was like, because I've been looking for a sponsor, and the question is, oh, what can you tell us about your audience? Yeah, I was like, wait, I have an audience? So that's news to me. I know my stuff's being watched, but, what's your demographic?
Oh, my personal demographic?
Oh, I get to, you can answer that too, but, they're like, for me, they're like, what's your demographic? So, I interview a lot of white people. I interview a lot of African Americans, and they're like, oh. And it's like, oh, there's an O in there? And then, oh, you said you should change it up. And it's like, okay.
Oh.
So I've been trying to get a lot of Asian people, Asian Americans. I don't know what the proper term is. I apologize if that offends you. But, I've been trying to get some good-looking Asian girls to be on my talk show. So I would look at my demographics saying, okay, I have one group. I interviewed about 50 white people, and now I interviewed 50 African Americans. Now, and then I also interviewed a couple Spanish people too, and it's recently it's like, why can't I get any Asian girls to be part of this? I got 3 girls so far, thanks to you. It's now 4, and I got 2 Asian guys, so it's slowly moving, but it's kind of like. For you, what's your opinion? Is there a different way I should approach the situation, or is there a different way I should represent myself?
No, I don't think so. Just reaching out to more of the Asian community, either, in whatever. I think if you're looking for actors, though, we are a minority. Asians are a minority in acting, in just general. I think within Sacramento, I'm one of the very few Asian American actors here, and I've only been in 2 shows out of about 6 where there was another Asian American actress. But other than that, like I've always been the only Asian in the cast. And even similarly in the San Francisco area too, there's very there aren't many Asian American who are actors. But I think just reaching out to them, they'd be happy to.
Well, they don't have to be actors. And, like I said, I interview, for example, actually we can get to that later on. I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize.
No. But yeah, I would suggest either through LinkedIn or maybe looking at some. If you're specifically looking for Asian Americans, there are some Asian American communities that might be able to help you find some people who might be interesting to interview. But yeah, that would be my suggestion.
No, I appreciate it. And one more question, then we can move on to another subject. Like I said, I got a handful Americans, British, a couple, maybe not a lot of British, but there are a couple Canadians, a couple African Americans, Spanish, Latinos. Working on my Asian population. Yeah, I came off wrong. I'm learning disability, so I'm not perfect. Then I was recently thinking, actually yesterday, like, wouldn't it be funny just to screw with people? What am I missing? I got white, I got black, I got Asian, I got Puerto Rican. What am I missing? Oh, why not have some Gothic girls on here? And
sure, why not?
yeah, everyone's welcome. And I was just sitting here looking on LinkedIn. There's not really a lot of Gothic actors out there that I know of. And I know Hot Topic is not catered to Gothic anymore. And I know Gothic is not a race, so so how would you go about, one more question about that, but how would you walk up to say, hey, I see you're Gothic, would you like to be on my talk show? Besides getting a slap in the face or punch in the face, how would you approach them? Or is it the same way, just be respectful?
I think, no matter who you're approaching, just give them a business card and let them know who you are and why you're particularly interested in them. Like if you're interested in their culture or what they do, just having a nice conversation to get them to know you and then for them to get to know your program too, I think might be a good way to approach it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Also, I do like Asian girls too, so just throwing it out there. Now next, do you have any questions you would like to ask me so far?
No, it sounds like you have a really wonderful program, and thank you for having me, and I'm glad that you're pursuing something that you really you have a passion for.
I do, and I appreciate it. I was going to say this earlier, but then I said I was going to get back to it. But what I was hinting towards was I interview pretty much anyone, normal, hardworking people like you and me. I have interviewed voiceover actors. I started off just interviewing voiceover actors. People from Dragon Ball Z to, what was it? Dragon Ball Z to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to the Amazing Spider-Man. And I was like, okay, now I got to that point, how can I take it to the next point? And then I reached out to actors and actresses. I was like, okay, interesting, now let's keep pushing to see where else I can go. Then I was like, they might say no, but what the hell. I reached out to CEOs, a lot of big name companies, not the huge ones because, it's kind of like I'm a speck on the radar, but like up and coming companies, they were interested, and I got a couple of those, and a couple of former New York City teasers, so pretty much anyone who's willing to be a guest. If you have any friends, I would love to have a chance to interview them. And if your mother's interested, I'd love to have her on the talk show and hear her story.
Okay.
And like I said, the whole point is I interview anyone who wants to support what I'm doing, have a normal conversation, become friends. And the next question I was going to ask you is, what do you enjoy doing the most? American voiceovers or Japanese voiceovers?
That's hard. I think it's I enjoy doing both. It's all acting, and I think that's what I love. I do find it interesting. My friends tell me that when I speak Japanese and when I do Japanese voiceovers, my vocal range changes. so that I'm actually an octave higher when I speak Japanese and when I do Japanese voiceover. And of course, when I do switch, there is, cultural differences. So if I'm doing characters are very different. And that's I always, that's kind of fun to do.
Well, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if you're okay with it, could you give us a perfect example? Like, could you say KeithAndrewNetwork in English, then in Japanese?
Sure. So, KeithAndrewNetwork and KeithAndrewNetwork.
I love that. That's really cool.
Thank you.
I wish I could do that, but, I have enough problems. Now, do you ever if you're interested, there's over a couple words I would like to know in Japanese, if I don't want to put you on the spot, but...
Okay.
So, you ever been to Woodbury Commons?
No, I haven't.
Basically, it's a giant tourist attraction. They think they're getting a good deal, but I'll give you a perfect example. Say... hang on. Say you like this flashlight, brand new, never seen it before. You would think you're getting a good deal on it. Unfortunately, what I found out over the years working there and going there is we get secondary stuff. So it isn't brand new. So it may be new from 2 years ago. It may have a mark on it. So it's kind of like, so like, without going off subject, like a couple of names I would like to hear in Japanese. I don't have I have a translator, but it's actually better to hear from a person, and I appreciate you doing it for me.
Oh, sure, no problem.
So, how would you say Facebook in Japanese?
Oh, it would just be Facebook.
Okay, now, instead of me asking you, what are your most favorite words you would like saying in Japanese that you catch yourself saying the most?
I guess I like saying words like "gambare," which just you can't really translate it in English because it has so many meanings. But basically, like, "gambare" means when you say it to someone, it's a word of encouragement. It's kind of like saying "you go" or you can do it. And I don't know. It's and it's also like that. You're trying to infuse it with your own passion and enthusiasm to that person. It's like trying. I feel like that word is also a way of transferring your energy into another person, like to help them, to support them and to help them in whatever it is that they're doing or that they need encouragement with.
Yeah, I know my grandparents would probably like slap me up the head for this one, but could you say Happy Hanukkah in Japanese? I was curious what it would sound like.
Sure, it would just be Happy Hanukkah.
Oh, it wouldn't be anything. It would be the same, right?
Right, because it's not a Japanese word.
Right.
So then we just end up saying it in a Japanese accent. So like Facebook, again, since it's not a Japanese word, but it is, there just isn't anything it's a product name, kind of. Then it just ends up being that product name in a Japanese accent. If that makes sense.
So, like, I know a couple Japanese words. Toyota. Actually, that's the only one I know. Actually, no, Toyota and Sayonara.
Okay.
Now, do you have any? I always get to make you laugh. That's good. Now, do you have any funny stories, or have you pulled any pranks on your friends?
Oh, I'm not. I don't think I would consider myself so much of a prankster. I mean, a funny story that happened to me recently was I was in a show with an actor, and I mean, we already opened, and we did the show a couple of times, and so we were, going through the regular scene, and we have our audience in front of us, and they seem to enjoy it, and then the actor who I was playing against, he suddenly gave me this deer in headlights look, and he asked me, "Can you read my mind?" And I realized, and that was like his way of saying, I forgot my lines, like the entire, so that was his, out loud, and I couldn't say anything because, otherwise the story wouldn't progress. So I just remembered that night, we just really ended up improvising the entire scene. And then we also had an issue with a couch that broke during a scene. It just completely collapsed right under one of our actors who sat down on it. And then, luckily, at the end of the show, I had a line that talked about how things keep going wrong in the house. So I was able to, kind of make everything come full circle and just talk about, so that couch is also a problem in this house. And hopefully, the audience didn't seem to realize that wasn't supposed to happen. So that was a kind of a good cover. I think those are the only kind of funny, weird stories that I have, which aren't really all that great, but...
Well, it's funny how things aren't planned to happen, but they happen anyway, so that's what makes it great. I don't know if you ever saw it, but it was on Saturday Night Live. It was the best of Chris Foley, and it's when he was wearing his jacket, and he's talking to David Spade, and he's doing this in a family room, and he next scene he falls through the table. And that wasn't part of the script. And you see David Spade grab his face and turn. And he's hysterical laughing, trying not to break character. And so Chris Foley gets up and goes, "Who put this table here?" It's just stuff like that, it's you never forget, and it's really funny.
Yeah, so, live theater is always fun because it's always different. You never know what's going to happen. And so it really keeps you on your toes. But yeah.
Now, wrapping up, do you have anything you want to say to your fans and listeners?
Oh dear, I don't know if I have any fans, but thank you all for listening. And it was really fun. I'm glad I was able to do this with you.